want to start with this quote. If you get my emails and read them, you've already read it, but bears repeating. It's Brené Brown from her book, Braving the Wilderness. She said, "You will always belong anywhere you show up as yourself and talk about yourself and your work in a real way. True belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world. Our sense of belonging can never be greater than our own level of self-acceptance." I like seeing your heads, Bob, shaking. Yes. Yeah. That's so true, right? And so, she's a researcher, researcher, and she reports a lot on other research that's being done by other researchers. And there's the researchers that study the collective human experience have come up with what they call the main concern in their findings, what most people have a deep concern about, right? A principle that they're trying to grasp and understand and realize in their lives, and that is the principle or the concept of belonging and connection. That we're all seeking that in some way. And Brené Brown talked about this in her book, Daring Greatly, which was fabulous. And I will tell you that your surveys, which are on the back side of your membership form, or the surveys that I've had out since the very second Sunday that we started meeting in February, you agree with that. That idea of connection, of being with like-minded people, of creating community, of honoring your own growth and being concerned with other people's well-being. That's very common in this collection of people right here. So, it's always interesting to me when the researchers tell us something that we're living, that we know, that we we wait for an authority figure to tell us what we know is our experience. But that's what this belonging idea and connection idea is. So true belonging, what Brené Brown tells us in her research, is not about fitting in. It's not about being accepted in that way. That it always includes a sense of safety to be your authentic self. It always invites people to be who they truly are, to show up in their realness, right? In their realness. And that is always an inside job. It's always an inside job. Now, we can put ourselves in an atmosphere that makes it welcome, but it's our work to do. And it requires that we trust ourselves, and it requires that we trust other people that we're in community with. And when we have this experience, then it's like an awakening, but that awakening really begins for us when we understand the shared human experience. When we understand that there's a shared humanity amongst us, which is the concept of unity, So Ernest Holmes said in 1949, or wrote in his book, Words That Heal Today, this great little book here. Feel free to always come up and look at these books afterwards. Unity does not mean conformity. I so love that. It's just so important in my life. Unity does not mean conformity. Life has set the stamp of individuality upon everything, from a blade of grass to a person. There is unity at the center, but there is variety at the surface. Unity at the center, variety at the surface. These variations are separate and distinct without being separated or isolated. Variety feeds on the unity in which it is rooted and expands through a consciousness of being one with the whole. Yeah. Yes, yeah. I just so love that. So this is what Science of Mind teaches. The basic principles of Science of Mind is there's only one thing. As I said earlier, there's one thing ever happening. It's life itself. We can call it by many different names. If you choose to call it God, it's all there is. If you choose to call it spirit, it's all it is. Creative intelligence, energy, life, force, essence. It's all it is. It's all it is. And it's divine. Yeah. And if I understand that it's me, then I must understand that it's you. It's you. It's each one of us. It's everybody outside of this room. Like I said a minute ago in our invocation, is the people that I don't care for. It's them too. Yeah. Yeah, that's where, you're stretching to understand this concept, right? I mean, right now, everything's pretty great. Oh, yeah, I see your spirit. Oh, namaste. I see that, right? But, But all of creation is the body of God. All of creation is the body of God. Some of us aren't, anointed when others remain cursed or something. That's not the way it works. And so we believe in Science of Mind that everything then is that incarnation. Everything is that incarnation. Everything deserves reverence and respect. And in that, oneness doesn't mean sameness. So there's a paradox that we're working with here, right? There's a great paradox that we're working with. We are unique individualizations, but we are not separate. We are inseparable. We are inseparable from each other, inseparable from source. It's a magnificent thing when you start wrapping your mind around it. And so we wrap our minds around it in the spiritual concept like that with Ernest Holmes, but we also wrap our minds around it with that book, The Oneness, which I forgot to bring this morning, but with quantum physics, right? That it tells us too. And I talked about this the first 2 Sundays of the month, that there is, at the subatomic level, everything is just energy vibrating. And you can't tell where something starts and ends. I mean, you can't tell your body from the chair you're sitting on and the person next to you. I mean, isn't that fantastic? Isn't that just fantastic? So, no true separation despite our appearances. So, again, Ernest Holmes said, while we have one common source, divine wisdom have seen fit to make each one an individual. Again, unity does not mean uniformity. There is unity at the center with infinite variations at the circumference. That's us. Well, I had a great example of that this week. Many of you know I wasn't here last week, and again, thank you, Reverend Emile, for holding down the fort and all of the volunteers that showed up to help out with Bobby and I being gone, and we took a trip for a week to Fresno, where our son lives with his wife and our 2.5-year-old twin grandsons. 2.5-year-old twin grandsons. You can just imagine how much fun we had, right? And so when I think of this concept of one source, many variations, they have the same mommy and daddy. They were born on the same day. They have lived the same environment, the same lives for 2.5 years, basically. They couldn't be more different. They couldn't be more different. And it's so much fun to see that, Whether it's, because it's so obvious that sameness does not preclude individuality. Sameness or oneness doesn't preclude them being unique with each other. It's so interesting. I've never been around twins before at this intimate level, and it's just fascinating. So one wants apples, and the other one wants strawberries. One wants grapes, the other one wants peaches, and they're allowed to have it. I'm really proud of my son and daughter-in-law. One wants Cheerios, the other one wants mini wheats. And they give them options, often. Which would you prefer? And so it's within the context of what they allow, You're not going to have donuts, because they don't feed them that very often, sugary stuff. But they give them options, and it's really great. And so, we have preferences, too. Some of you drive Chevys. Some drive Fords. Ford driver's not going to drive a Chevy, right? Some of us are particular about that. Some of us love imports. Others will only buy something that is American-made. We do the same thing. We have preferences, right? Simply preferences. And these boys at 2.5 years old are learning their likes and dislikes. It's just so fun to see. And they have the freedom to articulate that. Doesn't mean that they always get what they want, but they are certainly entitled to their opinions, and their parents tell them that. You are entitled to your opinion. They're telling their 2.5-year-olds that. It's just really fabulous, I think. And I'm seeing these kids have really strong characters and a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence at a young age. And so, in some way, as the director, the spiritual director of this growing community, I want to offer us that playground. I want to somehow say that we get to do that too, because maybe you didn't grow up with that kind of parenting. Maybe you grew up with, here's the box, and you will stay in it. And I don't care if you're round, you're going to fit in the square hole. I don't care if you're square, you're going to fit in the round hole. I don't care what you want right now, you're going to do it my way. And certainly my house was my way or the highway, and I would think the majority of us in here grew up that way. I gave my kids options. I gave them choices, and my mother hated it. She hated it. And I told her last night, I said, man, Aaron's taken what I did, and he's really gone to the extreme with it. And she goes, I know, I saw it. She was out there. I didn't say anything. Well, Mom, that's good. That's good. So we have a shared humanity. We have a shared experience. And when we understand this underlying principle of unity, I think that we can get along much better. We can have a shared trust and a shared respect and a shared love. And that's really what my hopes for the world is, because I believe that we're far less fearful people when we're in that place. We're less fearful, so we're more apt to share our opinions in a way that we're not fearful of the disagreement that might come up. I mean, those kids, they say, I want strawberries, not afraid that somebody's going to yell at them and say, you can't have strawberries. I mean, Mama makes sure there's lots of different fruits. There's watermelon. There's, all kinds of things to choose from, which is what the universe offers us. All kinds of things to choose from, So fear is easier. I mean, expressing ourselves is easier when we don't have the fear of what we want. I have to tell you, the greatest line in the entire week was coming back from the Monterey Aquarium, which was spectacular, and little Archer looks at me as I'm leaning over the back seat trying to give him some snacks, and because he hadn't eaten, he hadn't had a nap. I was really afraid of a meltdown. I'm trying to give him his water, and he says, Grandma, go away. True story. With the hand, Grandma, go away. So Grandma turned around in her seat, and then I leaned forward to my son and Bobby in the front seats, and I'm like, he just totally shushed me. He just totally, and I had to tell them about it. I can't believe he just did this. But I had to be okay with it, right? I had to be okay with it. And I really was. I was just kind of shocked. Grandma! I don't know what would have happened if he had done that to his great-grandmother. But anyway, so here I am, committed to us being able to go, no, I got this. I need to be left alone, or I understand this, or whatever we need to express to one another. I want to create that playground for us. I want us to have that opportunity. Because I believe that that's where we get a deep spiritual connection, and that's also where we get the feeling of belonging with one another, And this is ancient wisdom, and this is also new science, which is just so fun to think about, how all that's merging and coming together. And so when we have that freedom to express our uniqueness, when we understand that we are immersed in a loving and supportive universe, and that it says, yes, you can have strawberries or grapes. Yes, buy the cereal you want. Yes. When we recognize that the universe is saying yes to us like that, we don't fear risking belonging, right? The concept of fitting in now changes to the concept of showing up. Then we just get to show up. And sometimes we show up in a bad mood. Sometimes we show up and it's not the best day. Sometimes we show up and we're in pain, or we're worried, or we are fearful for some reason. And that's when you really want a community that just loves you, just says, okay, you know, okay, I see you. I see it's a bad day. It's okay. There's another day coming, right? Yeah, yeah. There is a safety net for us in this playground. There is a safety net. That's what I want us to be aware of. And so, again, there's this innate human desire for us to connect at that level, for us to belong, for us to show up and connect to something greater, knowing we are a part of it. Gracie over there, I think she's the only little one. Hi, Gracie. Good morning. Are you working on your puzzle piece? Yeah. They have puzzle pieces to fill in as their unique self. And then hopefully Deb's working on a puzzle piece, so at least we can have two fitting together over there. Because that's how we fit together. We just fit together when we show up as our authentic selves, you know? Not at the loss of our individuality. A real tribe accepts all. If we think about Native Americans, they accept, you know, what we in our culture deem to be subversive and mental illness, and everybody's continued to brought into the fold, right? Aboriginals brought into the fold, in the tribe, always in the tribe. Yeah, let's let CSLCC be our tribe in that sense, so we can shine our lights on the good days, and we can be our real selves on the bad days, and we're all accepted in that way. Again, Brene Brown, she says, true belonging isn't something we achieve, it's something we carry in our heart. Yeah, right? Isn't that good? It's not something we achieve, it's something we carry. It's what we are, right? It's a spiritual practice, believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply. It starts there. I started this talk at the first Sunday of this month with that loving ourselves meditation, right? So we believe in and belong to ourselves so deeply that then we can share our authentic self with the world and find a sacredness between being a part of something and also standing alone in the wilderness, which might be your truth on any one given day, right? You might feel like you're standing alone in the wilderness. But when you have that basic understanding that life is a unity and that it's present with love and supportive, then it's okay when you're standing in the wilderness, right? It's okay. So true belonging doesn't require that you change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. Great punchline, isn't it? Doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. That's how you really feel that connection. That's how you reach that level of belonging that we all search for in our lives. And so how do we take this knowledge into the concept of cherishing the human family, which we're looking at this month? We might think of the golden rule which says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat others the way you want to be treated. I'm going to offer to you an upgrade on the gold, which is what, ladies? Platinum? The platinum rule. Treat others the way they want to be treated. Isn't that good? Treat others the way they want to be treated. That's what I see Archer and Mason getting in their upbringing. They don't have to eat apples if they don't want to. They're going to have grapes. It's pretty interesting. So the platinum rule allows this level of authenticity for everyone, not just ourselves. We have to allow it for everyone. That means we allow other people to have feelings and ideas and thoughts and emotions and beliefs that maybe we don't share. And it shifts the focus from, this is what I want, so I'll give or do it for you because this is what I think is love. This is what I think is sharing. This is what I think is helping you. It shifts that to, let me first understand what you want. And then if I can, I will certainly give it. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I love this platinum rule. It requires us to be open to new ideas, to new perspectives, to a diverse way of being in the world, a new way of being in the world. It asks us to genuinely be interested in other people. Love that. Genuine be interested, you know? I'm proud, again, of my son and daughter-in-law because they are getting to know their children. They're not telling their children who they are. They're getting to know their children. It's such an interesting way to be. It's an interesting style of parenting. I did that to a certain degree, but they've just ratcheted it up, right? It's really beautiful. So we then strive for meaningful connections when we are truly caring about what the other person wants, right, or needs. That is what community and belonging is, and again, it's shifting the focus from ourselves to that broader sense of self. So this platinum rule is more sophisticated than the golden rule. That's the way I would see it. And it includes a greater level of compassion and inclusivity and diversity and honor and respect than simply the golden rule. That just takes into account what I think you need, right? So, Katie says to the boys, whenever one's not sharing, and that's naturally occurring, it's better to share with your brother than it is to play alone. I heard that a lot. It's better to share with your brother than it is to play alone. Yeah, are you with me on that? Right. So, today I'm going to say it's better for us to pray together than it is to pray alone. So we're going to do something that I used to do often, and that's do a community prayer. So I'm going to ask for prayer requests out loud. I would love for you to feel free to add something in. We're going to start with 4 people in our community have needs, and then, but what I want to say before we get to there is that beyond prayer, there is the treat and move your feet, right? Beyond the work we do in consciousness is the activity that we do, treat and move your feet. So it may be that people in our community may need a phone call. It may be that people in our community need somebody to bring them a meal. It may be that they need something tangible and physical. They maybe just need to go have a cup of tea with someone and listen. And so I'd love for us to start thinking in that realm too. After we do our prayer work, maybe you feel called, and if you do, you can send me an email, or I'll get out a piece of paper and put your name on there. And I know that there are people in the community that are interested in spearheading this kind of a committee, this kind of a team. And so I really love that.